Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of my tutorial park. In today's episode I'm going to show you how to build a Starflyer. Now if you don't know what a Starflyer is, I will quickly show you an example. Alright, here we are in Imagination Megapark, and over here you can see one of these Starflyer rides. Now this one isn't particularly tall, you can actually make them as tall as you want them to be. The real Starflyers, they range from pretty tall to insanely tall. So yeah, you could definitely double the height of this one. I think 1.5 times the height of the one we have here would definitely be nicer than what I made here. But anyway, yeah, basically we have a base here with a tower in the middle, and here on that tower, here would be a carriage that travels up and down the tower with these arms on it, and vehicles are suspended below these arms. Now, in a real Starflyer, there would be more arms in between, but in OpenRCT2, that's not really possible yet. So for now, I usually just give them 8 arms, and then with 16 vehicles under it, to still give it the idea that there would actually be more arms. But still, the way it is done here, I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, to start off, we need a base of 9 by 9 tiles. Actually, we need a 9 by 9 circle. So I'm just going to take the landscaping tool, and I'm just going to color a 9 by 9 area. So let's just select this part. And then over here, I'm going to make a circle. Now, I've already done quite a few rides which have a base, like the Condor ride here. So what we're going to do here is a little bit similar, but with a little bit bigger radius. So let's take the single rail coaster track. You could also take a monorail track if you want. And I'm just going to start one of these really wide turns. Then a straight piece, another wide turn, and a straight piece, and another wide turn. And we finish the circle like this. Alright, this is the fence that will go around the Starflyer, and I also like to put some steeplechase track on top. Now in order to do this, we'll have to go to cheats, and I'm going to select the allow building track at invalid heights, and also we're going to have to disable clearance checks, and this will allow us to build the fence right on top of here. So just going to build this steeplechase track on top in the same way we did the base. Okay, to make these steeplechase supports invisible, just going to use the invisible color on them. If the invisible color is not enabled for you, over here under the park cheats, there's the cheat to allow special color schemes, and that will bring up the invisible color. So now we have a little base for the ride. I'm just going to recolor the ground around it a bit. We'll make this look nicer later. Now it's time to work on the tower. Now, like I already said, you can go pretty high. I typically use the launched freefall for this. Now, how high you want this ride to be, it's up to you. What I do recommend is to actually already start building a launched freefall ride, and we will use this to decorate the sides. So I'm just going to start building a custom design here, and I'll just start building up like so, and I'll make 4 track pieces. Now what I usually do with these track pieces is that I make a color gradient that moves up the tower. So for that, I typically use all 4 available color schemes that you can have on a ride. So I'll just mark them in different colors. I will change the colors later to make them into a gradient, but this will make it clear for us what color scheme we're now working with. Okay, we now have 4 different color schemes. Oh wait, the first straight or vertical track piece, we'll color it in the first color scheme. Second one, we'll color it in the first alternative color scheme. And now we have all alternative color schemes here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place these. I'm going to hold Control and select this vertical track piece. We're going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it here. So I've pasted it on the same tile here as this tower, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to move it down to the platform base. Okay, these track pieces here of the launch freefall, we don't really need them. So I'm just going to delete this one. So if you hold Control and select the track piece, it immediately gets selected in the tile inspector. So quickly going to delete these track pieces. All right, I'm going to copy this this vertical piece around several times. I'm going to copy and paste several more of these track pieces, going to stack them up until I get a height that I like for the ride. And then when we're done, then on top of that, we're going to add the arms of the ride. Now, you'll want to make sure that the height of your ride is basically that you can fit several of these into the height that you like. Now, the reason I already built these track pieces is because if you place them, if you copy and paste only this track piece, then it's really hard to recolor it later. So that's why it's useful to already have these track pieces here with these alternate color schemes. So you can just copy and paste these. And then if you want to have the alternate color scheme different color later, you can just recolor the alternate color scheme of this ride. But yeah, once you've placed a track piece like this, it's really difficult to change it to a different alternate color scheme. For example, if I choose the reverse freefall coaster, I want to paint this in alternate color scheme 1, you can see it doesn't do anything, even though I'm clicking like crazy. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste several more of these track pieces on top of here until I get to a height that I like with this gradient. Okay, we've reached the height, which I think is nice for the ride. We don't need this ride anymore. Of course, we're not going to completely delete it, because then these track pieces would be gone, but we don't need the extra track here anymore. Okay, I'm just going to quickly already give it a nice gradient. Alright, I like this height for the ride. I'm just going to extend this launched freefall by a few track pieces. Like so. We'll change this later. But yeah, we need a little bit more height on this tower, but I like this part. This is the height which the carriage will sit at. Okay, with that done, we can now start working on the arms of the ride. Now, I typically use single rail coaster for that. So to start off, I'm just going to make a straight track piece right here. And we're just going to make it right above this reverse freefall coaster track. So I'm going to go out 3 tiles. And we'll do the same in the other direction. Okay, now we have a cross with 3 tiles out on each side. And now we're also going to make some diagonals. So I'm just going to try and make it so the diagonals meet up here in the middle. Now for the diagonals, 2 tiles out is enough. As you can see, it kind of looks like they're the same length now. And I'm also going to do the same for this other diagonal. Alright, now we have made these 8 arms. And what we now want to do is also make it look like they go upwards here. So I'm just going to make an extra track piece here. So we are now 4 tiles out. I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to make this track go up like so. And I'm going to remove this end track piece here again. So now it looks somewhat like this. And then I'm going to build this track piece again. We have clearance checks disabled so that we can build like this. And I'm going to do this for all these straight track pieces. Okay, now that this is done for these straight track pieces, we now also have to do the same for these diagonal track pieces. Now, for these diagonal track pieces, I like to do it a little bit differently because the slope for these diagonal track pieces is a bit more shallow. So instead of one track piece, I'm going to build out 2 track pieces. I'm going to delete this one. And from here, I'm going to build upwards like so. And then I'm deleting these 2 track pieces. And I want it to look more like it does here. So I'm going to hold Control, select this track piece. I'm going to select Apply Changes to Entire Track Piece. And I'm going to move this one down by 1. And I'm going to do the same to this track piece. Okay, I'm going to do this for all these diagonal sections. Alright, the arms of the ride are now done. What's now left to do is to make these supports invisible. The easiest way to do that is simply holding Control, selecting the support, and just moving it under surface. Never do this if you're building the ride above water, by the way, because that will make these track pieces pretty glitchy. So if these supports are above water, you'll have to make them invisible in a different way. Alright, now to finish off this tower, we can make it a little bit lower again. This is probably an appropriate height. Yeah, you can decide for yourself how much extra space you want here on top. Typically these rides have something nice on top, decoration of sorts. Now for the top part of this ride, I want it to actually be a roto-drop track. Now an easy way to do that is to just give it an alternative color scheme. So I will just paint these track pieces here in a different color scheme, like so. And then there's this plugin called the Ride Editor. And in it, we will select this launched freefall ride. So it's called the launched freefall 1. So we will find it in the list here. Here it is, launched freefall 1. We will select alternative color scheme 1. And we will set the checkbox here for ride type. And we'll change this to roto-drop. And if we apply selected changes, you can see the top part here now is the roto-drop ride. So I'm just going to change this color scheme here. Okay, I think that looks pretty nice. I'm just going to put something on top here. Maybe a spire like this would look cool. Okay, and then there's this one more thing that we need to do that will actually be visible. So for that, I'm just going to build a ride above this tower. Now I will now just use a car ride, but you can use any ride you want for this. So we'll disable support limits. And I'm just going to build the ride right above here. Give it an entrance and an exit. And I'm going to put it in a different ride mode. So we're going to cheats and we'll select show all operating modes. And we'll also need to cheat to show vehicles from other track types. And let's also disable vehicle limits. So here we'll select powered launch without passing station. And here we'll select roto-drop vehicles. And here we'll want to have 3 or 4 vehicles. I usually go with 4. But we'll place these vehicles over here and they will look like the part, or basically they will look like the carriage that travels up and down the tower. Alright, we already put it in powered launch mode, so I'm going to test and immediately close the ride. And then we're going to the ride vehicle editor plugin. Now, train 1 of car ride 1 is already selected, which is this ride. So I'm going to select the tweezer here, and I'm just going to hover over this track piece here of the rotor drop, and that should put it right around the tower. And now I'm just going to change the Z position so that it sits here somewhere around the where this vertical track here ends. And I'm going to move the other 3 above this one. Alright, I think this looks pretty cool already. So now we're actually going to work on the shoestring part of the ride. Alright, for building the shoestring part of the track, first I'm going to turn off the cheat to allow building track at invalid heights. And yeah, the vehicles we're going to use are suspended vehicles. So I'm also going to build this ride with a suspended track. So let's see. We'll go with the inverted hairpin coaster, if I can find it. Here it is. Okay, then let's just start building the station approximately where we want it to be. It doesn't really matter how long you make it. I'm just going with 3 tiles here. Actually, let's go with 2. That should be enough. Behind the station, I'm going to build a little bit of track, just so we're able to spawn all the vehicles. We don't need too much track since the train will be pretty short. And then over here, I'm just going to make some chain lift track up. And we're going to a level that's slightly below these arms. Okay, I think this level here is good. Actually, I forgot some chain lift here. Okay, I think this level is good. And now we'll want to make a circle of big track here. And as you can see, we're now over here, and we probably want to start over here. So over here we'll want to have a straight piece, then a big turn, then another straight piece. Now to do that, I'm first going to just build some track here until we're over here. All right, and then I'm going to allow enable another cheat to allow arbitrary ride type changes. We're going to change this ride into a suspended monorail. And I'm going to make the big turn here as I just discussed. So a straight track piece here, big turn, straight track piece, big turn, straight track piece, big turn. And we've gone full circle here. Okay, I'm just going to change the ride type back to an inverted hairpin coaster again. And I'm going to delete this track piece over here leading up, and over here instead we're going to go down into the ground. Now I'm just going to go as deep as I can here. Now this land or this map that I made is actually off the ground by quite a bit. So I have quite a bit of space underground to play with. That may not necessarily be the case in your park. So yeah, just go a bit underground. Okay, as you may be able to see, I built downwards here, and right here we're next to the station again. So that's where I'm going to stop building. Over here I will just make a straight track piece. So if you look underground here, you can see I built a straight track piece here. And when that's done, I will rebuild this track piece again. Okay, then underground I'm going to select a different, or I'm going to make a new coaster. Well, first let's enable the cutaway view. And let's move underground. Alright, I'm going to build another coaster. So once again, I'm going for the inverted hairpin coaster. And I'm going to build a station right next to this track piece. So I'm going to hover over this track, hold Control, and that will allow me to build a track at the same height as this piece. So I'm going to build the station right here. In this way, it's right under the station that's above ground. Okay, I'm going to enable another cheat to allow chain lifts on all track pieces. And I'm going to enable chain lift for this track here. And I'm going to make a 180-degree turn. And I'm going to build it over this track. So now these tracks are merged. I will go in the tile inspector. I'm going to hold Control, select this new track piece. And what we want to make sure of is that when a train travels from this blue track to the yellow track, it needs to follow the yellow track when it gets here. So to do that, we'll need to make sure that this yellow track piece is at the bottom of the list. So now this yellow track's at the bottom of the list. You can see that when I move the track piece up, the yellow track piece is now here on the bottom of the list. Alright, and then we just continue building a track here. And the length of this track here and the speed of the train, of course, will determine how long the train in the top part will circle around. So the longer this track is, the longer the ride duration will be. Alright, and with that, the control track is finished. Be sure to do the thing that I did earlier here with the tile inspector, or else the train will crash when it arrives here. Alright, the next step is to actually spawn the train and put it up here. Now first we'll need to have an entrance and an exit. It doesn't really matter where you place them, because we can move them later. But you should probably make sure that they're at the correct height. Okay, just going to quickly make them invisible. And for the train, we'll want to use the suspended floorless cars, or swinging floorless cars. We'll want to set it here to 1 car or 1 train. And we'll want to have 17 cars per train. Now for the ride type, we'll set it to powered launch without passing station. And looks like we'll need to enable another cheat, which is unlock operating limits. So by now we've probably already used most of the ride cheats that are available. And just going to set the launch speed to something low, like let's do 6 kilometers per hour. Okay, now I'm going to test and immediately close the ride. Now, as you can see, all of the vehicles were able to spawn here. Now, for this particular ride, it doesn't really matter how far they're spaced apart. I think you could even put all the trains here on this station if you wanted. So the straight track behind it is not strictly necessary, but it will help you later in when you want to space out those vehicles properly. Now, what we'll want to do is test the ride, and once this first vehicle is on the downward track here, so when it's slightly in front of the station, we'll pause the game and we'll switch the order of these 2 track pieces by using the tile inspector. So I'm just going to test the ride. Alright, this first car is now on its way down. So we go in the tile inspector, hold Control, select this track piece, and we're going to move it below this downward leading track piece. So now this downward leading track piece is over here in the list, and this upward track piece is over here in the list. So the rest of the vehicles should now follow this track upwards. And there they go. Now I'm going to close the ride now. And I'm going to increase the lift hill change speed, and that will make it so that the train does 1 circuit and then stops. and I don't have to wait very long for it to reach the end. Now, how long the ride takes depends on how long this vehicle takes to reach the end of the track here. So once it reaches the station here, the ride will stop. Now, something which I just forgot is to disable the chain lift here at the end and put some brakes, and that will make it stop more gradually at the end. Alright, it has now reached the end here. So this train is now stopped here at the top in mid-air, and once we put it in test mode again, it will start rolling again. Okay, I'm going to change this ride back into the suspended monorail. So now we have some track that we can see, and now we're going to space out all these vehicles. Now I typically do this manually. So for that, we'll go to the Ride Vehicle Editor plugin. And, well, we'll select this vehicle. This is Vehicle 2 of Suspended Monorail 1. Vehicle 1 is on the underground track. For Vehicle 1, I will change the number of seats to 0. Because we don't want any guests riding the underground vehicle. Okay, for Vehicle 2, we'll want to move it somewhere in order for us to space out these vehicles properly. So what I typically do to space out these vehicles is that I will first stop a vehicle here in the middle of this straight section. You could stop a vehicle here in this section, in the middle of this turn. And since we have 16 vehicles, we'll also want to stop a vehicle here in the middle. But yeah, basically we'll just want to move them all so that they're equally spaced out throughout the track. Now, if they're not moving fast enough for your liking, you can move them with track progress here. If they're not moving fast enough for your liking, you can change the multiplier here to 10 or 100. I probably wouldn't choose 100, but 10 is a good option. So just going to move it in the middle of this track piece here. And I'm going to do the same to space out all these vehicles here. Now, if you have trouble spacing out these vehicles or moving them exactly, well, for example, here we have this straight track piece. The first pixel of this track, or the first part of this track, is 0. Then you can move throughout the track piece, and at some point it changes to 0 again. That means you're in the next track piece or in the next tile. So this one's 31 units long, so we'll move this one to 15 probably. Okay, I'm gonna use the same trick here to space out the rest of the vehicles. Okay, the vehicles are now spaced out nicely. So if we put the ride in test mode, you can see them now all swinging below these arms. Now we'll want this track here to be invisible. Now for that, I think I'm going to change the ride into an inverted impulse coaster that will make all these turns invisible, since this ride doesn't have those. It does mean we'll have to make these other track pieces invisible ourselves, but that's easier to do than to do these turns, because they consist of lots more pieces. Now, one thing I'm going to do before making this track invisible is I'm going to take one of these track pieces and move it up a bit, and that will interrupt this track, and that will allow the ride to calculate its stats. If we don't do that, well, there's an infinite loop here in the track, and the ride calculation function may get stuck here. So if the ride calculation function gets stuck and the ride never calculates its stats, simply move the track piece, move a track piece that leads into the infinite loop up like this. Then we're gonna close the ride, and put it in test mode again, and that should allow it to calculate its stats properly. Alright, I'm going to quickly make these track pieces that we have here invisible using the tile inspector. So I just hold Control, select the track piece, and press the little eye icon, and they become invisible. Okay, with that, the Starflyer is mostly finished. Now I'm just going to pause the game, select one of these vehicles, and I'm going to make the entrance visible again. Okay, I want to move the entrance and exit to a different place. So to do that, going in Tile Inspector, well, first I'm just going to make this track piece here invisible, and this one as well. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to hold Control, select the entrance, and copy it, and we'll paste it over here. I'm going to rotate it like so, and I'm going to hold Control, select this exit, copy it, paste it over here. And for this exit, while it's still selected here, we're going to click Make Usable and hold Control, click. And we'll do the same for this entrance. And hold Control, click this exit, delete it, and click this entrance and delete it. So when you press Make Usable, this will become the new entrance coordinate for the ride. Alright, now we can just make a simple queue for the ride. Alright, and with that, guest should now be able to enter the ride. So I just opened it. Now the stats of this ride aren't great, since this is an inverted impulse coaster. So I'm just going to tweak the stats a bit. For that, we're going into the Ride Vehicle Editor plugin once again. I'm going to select this ride. What's it called again? Inverted Impulse Coaster 1. And we're going to edit ride, freeze rating calculation, set the multiplier a bit higher, and we're just going to raise the lower some of the stats a bit. So I think this would be a pretty nauseating ride. Intensity would be average. Excitement, I think it's pretty high. Okay, all that's left to do for this ride now is to decorate it. So I'm just going to lower the ground a bit under this base, put some base blocks here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of foliage around the ride, put some lamps here over the queue, and with that the ride should be finished. Alright, I've now decorated the Starflyer. As you can see, I just put these New York roof pieces under the base here, and right next to the base I just decorated with lots of plants and some trees. And here I just made a simple queue line with some lamps, also put some trees next to it. And I just copied and pasted a stall here to act as the operator hut. And yeah, I think that's just a simple way to decorate your ride. Now don't forget to put some lamps just for some ambience, or yeah, they make your parks look a little bit more cozy usually. But yeah, that's really all there is to know about building one of these rides yourself. Now, some people also make versions of this ride where the vehicles actually spiral downwards and upwards, but I prefer the way it looks like this. Now, it does look a little bit silly when guests just teleport upwards like so, but I do think this version of the ride generally looks nicer. But yeah, if you want a version where the vehicles spiral upwards and downwards as they go, yeah, then you'll have to look up a different tutorial. Alright, then it's time to once again add one of my patrons to the park as an entertainer. Alright, Tim Krieg, thank you so much for joining as a patron. I tried to make it look like the entertainer is climbing up here in the top of the Starflyer. Anyway, thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. It's truly appreciated, and I hope you enjoy your spot here in the park. And if you're watching this, you also want to support my channel on Patreon, you can find a link to my Patreon channel in the video description. The support is really appreciated. Alright, that brings us to the end of this video. Now, I think a Starflyer will look great in any park. You can find one of these in almost every big park that I make. I just love building these, and they always look impressive. So yeah, if this tutorial was useful for you, if you just enjoy watching it, please like this video. It would really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments what you think of this video, and if you want to see more videos like these, you can always subscribe to my channel. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.